We are today facing a very complex and pressing challenge. The free market economy has let us believe that natural resources are without limit. As a result, we are over-consuming. With our behavior, we are enriching a tiny fraction of the world population. We are exploiting the vast majority and destroying the environment. Especially water is crucial for human health and needs to be conserved. To stop climate change, we have to change our behavior within the next decade. To envision an alternative urban future, we go to Ladakh in the Indian Himalaya. Ladakh is a semi-arid, high-altitude region. Water is scarce in Ladakh and has always been precious. Water has been managed very carefully for centuries in agricultural settlements. The town Leh is the cultural capital of Ladakh. The historic center overlooks a green oasis of agricultural fields. Until very recently, Ladakh was virtually isolated from the modern world. Since opening to tourism in the 1980s, Leh has expanded very rapidly. Leh has only 60,000 inhabitants, but now receives 180,000 tourists annually, mainly from India. Due to the extreme Himalayan climate, most tourists come in summer. His Holiness the Dalai Lama visits Leh every summer. Thousands of visitors come to see him. The growth of the tourism industry in Leh has caused a huge increase in water demand. In the 1980s, there were only a handful of hotels. Since then, around 350 hotels and guest houses have opened. Many are still in construction or being planned. Urban growth has been extremely rapid, and Leh continues to grow. Adequate freshwater supply and wastewater management are a huge challenge.
Population of Leh has been expanding almost exponentially, because of tourism and migration. So the demand for water has definitely increased, and there are no easy options, I would say.
The local government provides Leh with 3 to 4 million litres of water per day. Most of the water is extracted from the Indus River aquifer using tube wells. The Indus is 300 meters lower in altitude and 5 kilometers away. The water is pumped to reservoirs in Leh and distributed by gravity. Groundwater is also procured from the aquifer underneath Leh, which is fed by glacial and snowmelt water, using 40-meter deep bore wells. Because water supply is very energy intensive, running water can only be supplied for a few hours per day. Public taps and water tankers provide the majority of households in Leh with water, because less than half have private connections.
We are small, small community, small place. We have been living so harmoniously with the climate, with the weather conditions, everything. Now with the changes, sudden changes, 20, 30 years, influx of tourists, consumerism, everything, there is a cause of concern for us.
Leh currently does not have a sewage system. Hotels and guest houses dispose of wastewater in septic tanks and soak pits. These are not properly managed, and sewage seeps into the ground.
As the number of hotels is increasing, the liquid waste generated from this hotel is also increasing. Ultimately, this liquid waste finds its way into groundwater, which is contaminated.
This causes groundwater pollution and is a health risk because groundwater is a source of drinking water. Due to the rapid urban development, environmental pollution is serious.
Although people are very much aware about the environmental issues, they know about sustainable development of environment, but implementation is very low.
When I was very young, we used to drink water directly from the streams. Now the stream water is very polluted.
I think it's just because of the lots of many hotels in the Leh, and also local houses. They are just boring, and they put water from bore wells to the agricultural lands. To use their water from the bore well, they use it to the agricultural land. Then they don't care about the water, and many bore wells are still going on, and governments are trying to stop them, but I think it's not possible to stop. There is no any law, so it's also decreasing water for agriculture, for drinking, just because of the boring.
60% of hotels and guest houses already have private bore wells. Groundwater extraction is not regulated, and tourist accommodations are extracting 1 to 2 million litres per day in summer. Surface water in streams for irrigation is also decreasing due to climate change. Over 90% of hotels and guest houses are in the agricultural area of Leh. As a result, 10% of fields have been built up through construction of tourist accommodations. As fewer people are farming and have income from tourism rather than agriculture, further 30% of fields have fallen barren. However, cash crops are a good source of income for local farmers. Greenhouses are increasingly popular for growing cash crops, also in winter.
Because sometimes ago people used to having only few items of food. There are no varieties of food, but there are coming of the tourism because of the open of the roads, because of the people are connected with other rest of the world. Because of that, the requirement is also increasing, so that people are also depending outside for their many requirement things.
Today, staple foods are heavily subsidized and imported. Also, tourism has caused rapid change in demand for a variety of food. Leh is now almost completely dependent on food imports.
The Daspan of Yanal in 1970-72, 3 point of the starts of Madasata, man at Taliban man 80% produce upon Das, Pape, Meda, Suji.
In summer, fruits and vegetables are imported. In the winters, very little fresh food is available for the local population, which is a health concern. These various issues illustrate that water, energy and food are interlinked. Therefore, they need to be planned in an integrated way to address water conservation comprehensively. To deal with the increasing wastewater in Leh, the local government is building a centralized sewage system. This system will comprise 200 to 300 kilometers of piping and is designed for the year 2040.
Look, Leh has become a town now. It's become an urban area. So Leh will have to have a special, solution for it. Otherwise, personally, I would not like Ladakh to adopt the kind of technology we are adopting now. In the villages and remote areas, the old system is the best, what we are following. You cannot have sewerage system and all these things everywhere. But on the other side, you have so much of influx of tourists and consumable items which will have to be addressed as per a modern, technology.
Due to the harsh climate, pipes will be laid at least 2 meters below ground to avoid freezing in winter. Flushing the system will require twice as much water per person as the government provides today. Wastewater will be collected in a central sewage treatment plant, or STP, at the foot of Leh.
The water would be bored from the base of the Indus. It would be lifted from Gangles onwards. And through these 5 reservoirs, all the entire town would be covered in. In different places, we would have some pumping stations. Most of the time, it could work through gravity, but at some places, you will have to pump the, sewage water and other things to a location where it will again flush through gravity to the STP. There it would be treated, where we would have manure and the wastewater would be used for agricultural purposes as well. This is how it is going to work. So as far as water is concerned, we are giving home connection to each and every family.
However, this system may face serious challenges in terms of water, energy and food. To flush the system requires per person water consumption as high as in Germany, although Leh is in a desert.
When you are coming up with a sewage system, you cannot think it without water. And water to not mega water, little water, you must have lot of water. Otherwise, this will be choked, to flush the sewage system.
Actually, the design has been made for 80,000 people. And the quantity that people are getting is 135 liters per day will be supplied.
Currently, 2/3 of households do not own a flush toilet. Hence, there may not be enough wastewater to flush the system.
Traditionally, we had the Ladakhi toilet. So that was a very nice system, After some time, you use the human waste to fertilize the fields. But if you start using flush system, which requires a lot of water, it's a very foolish way of disposing of the human waste.
Compost from dry toilets is still used by 1/3 of households as organic fertilizer. Central wastewater collection will cause further decline in this traditional practice. Much more energy will be needed to extract the required water. Currently, Leh faces regular power cuts as its energy supply, mainly through hydropower, is not sufficient. Large-scale solar energy development is planned, and energy is expected to be ample soon.
Mainly the power should not be a problem. I think that geothermal energy we have best geothermal sites. Not only solar power, we have good potential for hydro, good potential for geothermal. All put together, I think Ladakh will be a big source of power. And all the activities in Ladakh. So there won't be any deficiency in power in coming futures.
An alternative solution, as suggested by research, to address water, energy and food issues comprehensively is decentralized wastewater recycling and reuse in the agricultural area of Leh. Wastewater collection in small clusters of hotels, guest houses and households would reduce piping and require less water for flushing. Recycled water could be used to recharge the aquifer locally. Energy would be conserved as less water has to be extracted or lifted to barren fields from the planned central STP. Smaller treatment plants could run on solar energy. Recycled water could be used to regenerate barren fields and grow cash crops with continued use of organic fertilizer, improving food security. The decentralized option is more flexible and thus resilient under climate change-related water uncertainty. This example of the town ley shows that in order to conserve natural resources, water, energy and food need to be planned together. Under climate change, implementing business-as-usual solutions, such as centralized sewage systems, is a risk. Cutting our overconsumption of water, energy and food to sustainable levels is at the root of stopping climate change, ending exploitation of people, and enabling a peaceful future. For this, visionary solutions are urgently needed in cities worldwide that are suited to local conditions.
I think we have to develop, definitely. We can't continue in the old ways, but it has to be something, which is sustainable, which is suited to the local environment, culture, and I'm sure, if we think seriously about an alternative, there are alternatives.